In 2012, Zhongchang Yu walked away from his engineering job at ASML. ASML, a Dutch company, holds a unique position as the sole manufacturer of machines that produce the world's most advanced semiconductor chips. These tiny silicon marvels power everything from smartphones to missiles. Yu did not fade into obscurity after leaving. Instead, he launched two companies, one in the United States and one in China. Allegations soon surfaced from United States and ASML lawyers, claiming Yu recruited fellow ASML engineers to his American company, bringing stolen machine information with them, all allegedly supported by the Chinese government. This incident is a small but revealing piece of a much larger story: China's ambitious quest to dominate the semiconductor industry. Yet, this quest has locked China in a fierce struggle with the United States, a struggle often compared to a new Cold War. This conflict is not about tariffs or market share. It is about security, power, and the future of technology. How did this battle over microchips begin, and why is China falling behind? The story starts in the 1950s, when engineers in the United States created the first semiconductor chip. This small piece of silicon, embedded with just 4 transistors, marked a revolution. The power of a chip depends on the number of transistors it holds. More transistors mean more computing power. By 1960, engineers had already quadrupled that number to 16. Each year, they found ways to pack even more transistors onto a single chip. This exponential growth became a defining feature of the industry. In 1965, Gordon Moore, the founder of Intel, made a bold prediction: the computing power of a chip would roughly double every year. Known as Moore's Law, this prediction has largely held true for decades. Today, a state-of-the-art chip contains around 114 billion transistors, a staggering leap from the 4 in the 1950s. These chips are the backbone of modern technology, driving everything from artificial intelligence to military systems. In the early days, United States chip companies had one primary customer: the United States government. The first chips powered guidance computers in NASA spacecraft and missile systems. The government saw computing power as a cornerstone of national strength. During World War II, computers helped crack enemy codes. In the Cold War, they tracked Soviet submarines. Recognizing this, the government forged deep partnerships with chip companies to secure access to the most advanced technology. These companies controlled the entire supply chain, designing, manufacturing, and assembling chips all within the United States. This self-contained ecosystem gave the United States a commanding lead in the global tech race. By the late 1960s, chip companies saw new opportunities. Designing chips for civilian products, like corporate computers, promised massive profits. To meet this demand, they needed to produce more chips at lower costs. The solution was to move manufacturing and assembly to countries with cheaper labor, such as Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, and Hong Kong. The United States government encouraged this shift. These nations were allies or partners, and supporting their economies strengthened diplomatic ties. At the same time, the government banned chip companies from sharing technology with rivals like the Soviet Union and China. This ensured that adversaries remained years behind in chip technology. Moore's Law meant that a 5 or 10-year lag was significant, as advanced chips were vastly superior to older generations. The move to global production had unintended consequences. Allied governments began investing in their own chip industries. In the 1970s and 1980s, Toshiba in Japan and Samsung in South Korea emerged as major players, designing and manufacturing chips that rivaled those from the United States. By the 1990s, a Taiwanese company, TSMC, became a manufacturing powerhouse. TSMC's efficiency was so remarkable that many United States companies stopped producing chips themselves, relying instead on TSMC. This shift marked a turning point. The United States was no longer the sole producer of advanced chips. The global chip industry became interconnected, with countries depending on each other for materials, software, and equipment. Taiwan, in particular, became a critical player, manufacturing 69% of all chips and 92% of the most advanced ones. While the United States and its allies pushed the boundaries of chip technology, China lagged far behind. During the Cold War, the United States blocked China from accessing advanced chips. Adding to this, Mao Zedong's policies, called Culture Revolution, in the 1960s and 1970s drove many of China's brightest scientists and engineers out of the country. This brain drain crippled China's technological progress. By the 1990s, the Cold War had ended, and relations between the United States and China improved. Export controls were lifted, allowing China to entice chip companies to move assembly operations to its shores. By the 2000s, China dominated this part of the supply chain. However, this success came with a catch. China relied heavily on imported chips from geopolitical adversaries like the United States, Japan, and Taiwan. The Chinese government conducted a thorough analysis of the tech supply chain and reached a troubling conclusion. The entire Chinese tech ecosystem depended on imported silicon from nations that could turn hostile. This reliance was a risk China could not afford. To address this, the government poured massive funds into domestic chip design and manufacturing companies. These companies partnered with non-Chinese firms to build a self-contained supply chain within China. By the 2000s, China could design, manufacture, and assemble older generations of chips mostly independently. Yet, producing the most advanced chips remained out of reach. The gap was stark. While modern chips boasted 114 billion transistors, China's capabilities were years behind, rooted in older technology. The global chip industry has critical bottlenecks, and China depends on them entirely for advanced chips. Only 3 United States companies produce the software needed to design cutting-edge chips. Turning those designs into reality requires a specific machine made exclusively by ASML in the Netherlands. This machine, in turn, relies on equipment produced only in the United States. Finally, only companies in Taiwan and South Korea, like TSMC and Samsung, can manufacture the most advanced processor chips. These choke points give the United States and its allies immense control over the global supply chain. For China, this dependence is a strategic vulnerability. Zhongchang Yu's story highlights a controversial aspect of China's strategy. In 2019, United States authorities attempted to arrest Yu, but he had vanished. He later appeared in China as the CEO of his company, which had developed software similar to ASML's, allegedly with Chinese government support. This was not an isolated case. The Chinese government has been accused of passively or actively supporting intellectual property theft to bolster its chip industry. Recognizing the weakness of its domestic companies, China targeted choke points like ASML, attempting to replicate their technology. This approach, however, sparked outrage among the United States and other nations, who began viewing China's actions as a security threat, not just an economic issue. The relationship between the United States and China grew increasingly tense. In 2018, the Trump administration banned United States companies from selling components to ZTE, a major Chinese tech company. This nearly bankrupted ZTE. In 2019, the ban extended to Huawei, China's largest tech company, dealing a significant blow. When President Joe Biden took office, he escalated these measures. In 2022, the United States imposed sweeping restrictions. No United States companies could sell advanced chips to China. Chinese firms were blocked from using United States-made design software and manufacturing equipment, and global companies using United States semiconductor technology were barred from selling advanced chips to China. These export controls aimed to halt China's chip industry in its tracks, exploiting the choke points to maintain United States dominance. The United States did not stop at restrictions. A new law funneled billions of dollars into domestic chip manufacturing companies. A landmark deal with TSMC brought manufacturing plants to United States soil, ensuring access to advanced chips without relying solely on foreign production. These moves were designed to keep the United States ahead in the chip race. Both the United States and China understand the political stakes of semiconductors. Chips are not just economic assets, They're tools of power, critical to military applications and global influence. The chip war has intensified another geopolitical flashpoint, Taiwan. Since 1949, China has viewed Taiwan as a breakaway province, vowing to reunite with it, even by force. The United States, in contrast, has pledged to protect Taiwan. Taiwan's role in the chip industry makes it indispensable. Its companies produce 63% of the world's chips and 92% of advanced chips. This dominance gives Taiwan strategic leverage but also places it in a precarious position. United States export controls have forced Taiwanese companies to make a difficult choice: continue selling to China and risk defying the United States, or comply with restrictions and cut off China's access to critical chips. So far, Taiwan has signaled it will limit sales to China, aligning with United States interests. The struggle over microchips is reshaping global alliances. As the United States and China clash, other countries and companies face pressure to choose sides. The United States leverages its control over supply chain choke points to maintain its lead, while China grapples with its dependence on foreign technology. The stakes are immense. Advanced chips power artificial intelligence, military systems, and economic growth. Falling behind means losing influence in a tech-driven world. China's efforts to build a self-sufficient chip industry have made progress, but the gap remains wide. The United States, with its allies and technological edge, holds the upper hand. This conflict, much like the Cold War, is about more than economics. It is about who will shape the future. The microchip war is far from over. China continues to invest heavily in its chip industry, seeking to close the gap. The United States, meanwhile, doubles down on its lead, fortifying its alliances and tightening export controls. Taiwan remains a critical battleground, both for its manufacturing prowess and its geopolitical significance. As this struggle unfolds, it raises a question: can China overcome the choke points holding it back, or will the United States maintain its dominance? The answer will shape the global balance of power for decades to come. What do you think about this high-stakes race?